Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about something very important that is about to occur this month of August and September, because what we have is a very important eclipse. That we have a lunar eclipse that's going to be occurring August 18th, and then we have the solar eclipse that will be occurring September 1st. This eclipse energy is always about bringing something out of the dark to be revealed. And this particular eclipse, I feel, is so important because it is conjunct Neptune, that we have the solar eclipse opposed Neptune, but the lunar eclipse conjunct Neptune. Now this involves women, females, something very important, but something being revealed out of the dark. And what I want to talk about today is that there's a nodal return. Every year, the nodes return 18 years, that they make their complete return and come back to their starting position. And I want to go over what happened 18 years ago from today. And we're talking right now in the month of August 2016, going back to around the time of August of 1997. And what happened was Princess Diana was killed in a car accident. Now, we may wonder, from all the details and the facts that have been revealed, whether or not this was a conspiracy and if there was foul play. But let me give you some of the facts building up to this. On that day, August 31st, 1997, Princess Diana, with her boyfriend, Dodi Al-Fayed, were leaving the restaurant, leaving the hotel, and what happened was there was this very suspicious car accident, and they say that her driver was drunk, and mysteriously all these things come into play. Here's what was going on. First of all, the tunnel in Paris where it happened, the surveillance camera that is always on was turned off that night. Okay? Another thing was there was a white car that was noted to be involved in this accident, but for a while they couldn't find who was associated with this car. But once they did find the driver, somehow mysteriously he committed suicide. The way he committed suicide was he shot himself twice in the head and set himself on fire. Now tell me how, first of all, you could have pulled the trigger twice and set yourself on fire. That's a little suspicious, okay? Another thing, on the way to the hospital, taking Diana, who was still alive, there was a hospital that was very close to where the incident happened. But they chose not to go to the closest hospital, instead choosing a hospital that was an hour and a half away. The car went very slow and stopped many times. And by the time they got to the hospital, she was dead. Another clue. Diana gave a letter to her butler 10 months before the accident, told him to use it as insurance. What was in the letter? That she suspected that she would be killed in a car accident. Putting all these clues together, the question is, was she murdered and why? And looking at this whole scenario, I'm very suspicious. I wanted to look at her chart. And from what I realized looking at her chart, she has Rahu and Ketu in her 10th house, Rahu in the 10th, and it is conjunct Mars that is sandwiched around Uranus and Pluto. Now, Uranus is sudden, unexpected events. Uranus and Pluto deals controls and power. Now, she has a Scorpio ascendant, and Scorpio is ruled by Mars in the 10th house. This is a public figure. She is a public figure, loved by many. This is what happens when you have powerful, powerful planets in the 10th house. She was incredibly charismatic, and she had magnetism off the charts with this configuration, but being wedged between these two outer planets. Outer planets represent the world consciousness, the collective unconscious. And I believe this is a small clue as to her fate and her destiny, as to what she was here and why she was here, brought to this world. So looking at this, when this accident occurred in 1997, she had a nodal return. Rahu had come back to its original starting position in K2 as well. They're exactly opposite always. So every 18 years, we have a nodal return. Just realize every 18 years in our life is the biggest change that we will ever go through. 18 years, when we're 18, we go off to college, we graduate from high school, we move, we set out into the world. That's the biggest change that can happen in a lifetime. Diana was 36 when she died. That means it was a nodal return another 18 years later. So you see, every 18 years we go through this transition, this big change. But the fact that she had Mars and Rahu in her 10th house, and by the way, those two coming together can deal with accidents, can deal with events that are dangerous, violence. So it was activated in her 10th house, bringing this situation to the world. The 10th house represents the public. She was a public figure, the most photographed woman, I believe, of all time. Maybe she's with Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, or maybe a tie, but trust me, she was sought out. They said that she was, the media was always, always after her, photographers, because they said she was hunted. But looking at this scenario, was she murdered, and why? Well, the story goes that she had spent some time in the Mediterranean with her boyfriend, Dodi Al-Fayed, an Egyptian. His father was mega wealthy. He owned Harrods and in London, mega wealth, and all of these prized hotels, and just, you know, and all these incredible yachts. So she had gone to, and remember, he owned the Ritz where they were that evening, and so in Paris. And prior to that, they had gone to the Mediterranean, and they were having, you know, a relaxing time, getting to know each other. And I believe he had proposed to her. So the whole idea was that she was about to be married and take her sons with them to go live in California. So here we are, the heirs to the throne. William and Harry, but she felt like her life was in danger. And this fated night, I believe by looking at the charts that Princess Diana was murdered. Let me explain why. Because with the nodal return, you can see that this is huge, an event that changed everything. Everyone was shocked by this event. Most people can remember exactly where they were on this day at this evening when the news came out that Princess Diana was dead. Let me go over a few things else in her chart that gives credence astrologically to the fact that she was murdered. Looking at Princess Diana's chart, she had Jupiter and Saturn. By the way, most everyone that was born the year that she was born had Jupiter and Saturn conjunct. So let me go over Princess Diana's birth details, because Princess Diana, she did go to astrologers, and it was after the fact later that we actually did get an accurate birth time that worked for Princess Diana. She was born July 1st, 1961. The time we're using is 7:45 p.m. in England. So looking at this, her ascendant was 25 degrees of Scorpio, and she, born 1961, had Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in her third house. Let me remind you, the third house deals with traveling, transiting by cars, by any kind of movement, but particularly traveling by cars. It's not by air. The third house is also another house that we look for in astrology that concerns death. Why? It's the 8th house counted from the 8th house. So it has a connotation associated with death. And looking at this, what was actually transiting exactly in her chart in 1997 was the outer planets Uranus and Neptune were conjuncting her Saturn and her Jupiter exactly. So transiting Neptune was on her Saturn, and transiting Uranus was on her Jupiter. And let me tell you, the outer planets deal with world events, things that happen to people and individuals globally that affect the world consciousness. So this whole ordeal affected the world consciousness and changed it forever. So the thoughts are that the Queen wanted to get rid of Princess Diana because she was about to take the heirs away, her sons, to go live away from England in the United States, California. But there is definitely a more sinister side to this. This is not just the reality. Here is the situation. Diana was about to reveal some very deep, dark secrets pertaining to world leaders that have kept things so secret, and how they are manipulating and controlling the world. No way this could ever be released. And Diana had the courage to do it. But these controls and these powers are far beyond what we can fathom. And they have control of everything, even the media. President Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, who was assassinated in 1963, had a similar event, and his whole life was all about bringing out secrets as well. And look what happened to him. As a matter of fact, when I was looking at President Kennedy's chart, he also has the ruler of the 10th house, which is your career, going to the 8th house, and it is conjunct the ruler of the 8th house. So for Kennedy, if you go to his chart, he has a Virgo ascendant, and with that, he has Mercury ruler of the first, but also ruler of the 10th of his career. Conjunct Mars in the 8th house. The 8th house is death. And it is deep, dark secrets and things that are about to be revealed. As a matter of fact, the 8th house can deal a lot with disgrace and humiliation as well. And when you look to see that the ruler of his career house, Mercury, is conjunct Mars in the 8th house of death, and Mars rules the 8th house, you will understand that his career and what he aspired to, being the president, also killed him. At the time of the death in 1963, Rahu and Ketu would have returned to their natal positions as well. Ketu was conjunct his Ketu in the 10th house, and Rahu was conjunct his Rahu in the 4th house. And I might add, exactly to the degree. So he was a bringer of truth and realization. But look what happened. Diana, Rahu and Ketu, she had the nodal return, but she had Rahu in the 10th house. And here are some other interesting things that you might add, that I might add, that I think is why things are about to come out, 18 years in the process, about to come out this year at the time around these eclipses that we're having in August and September. And it is. It was said that Diana, a few days before she died, had flown to Florida to see Elton John, her dear friend, who was there at the funeral for Versace, which Elton John was friends with. The designer Versace, who was murdered at that time. Diana went, she had a close conversation with Elton John, flew back to Paris, and was killed. Lately, Vladimir Putin has been in conversation with Elton John, and Vladimir Putin has threatened to come out with this truth now. And you're going to see that something will be revealed, brought out of the darkness into the light. The truth will finally be revealed. Be prepared. There's most of what you have been led to believe in this world may not be real, may not be truth. And I want to say this, that I believe Diana was brought to this world, as well as President Kennedy, to bring the truth and healing to this world. This was a mission. Maybe she was unconscious too, but this was a mission and the rhyme and reason why she was brought to this world. Diana also had the planet that ruled her 10th house in the 8th house with the ruler of the 8th. Diana has Mercury and Sun in the 8th house. And let me remind you that Mercury and the Sun in the 8th house represents humiliation and disgrace. What she had to go through in order to get to this point where she was going to reveal the truth. She had to divorce Prince Charles and went through all of that scandalous talk about her. It was very, very humiliating. She has the ruler of the 10th, the Sun, because the Sun rules Leo, in the 8th house with Mercury, which Mercury rules the 8th house, just like President Kennedy. So many similarities that this is very important to know that this truth is all about their mission. And another thing I might add, it has been said that John Kennedy Jr. was about to come out with the truth on who murdered his father, John F. Kennedy, President Kennedy, right before his plane went down, going to the wedding in Martha's Vineyard. So he had a magazine, George, and he was about to come out with the truth. When people come out with the truth, they somehow are annihilated or disappear. And being in Dallas, Texas, I know about a lot of things that happened mysteriously around the time of Kennedy's assassination. So these plans were set in order and so well kept secret, but I think finally there will be evidence and truth. Whether or not people will be willing to accept it is a whole nother story, but it's out there. I might add another thing about Dodi's chart, Dodi Al-Fayed. Looking at his chart, transiting Ketu was exactly conjunct his natal Venus on that fated day of August 31st, 1997. And in his chart, Venus rules the 7th house, and Venus ruled the 2nd house. He had Aries rising, Taurus is the 2nd house, and the 7th house is Libra. So Venus, ruling planet of the 7th house, represents the marriage partner. Plus, in a man's chart, Venus represents the marriage partner anyway. It's the karaka for the marriage partner, the indicator of. But it ruled the 7th house. Plus, additionally, Venus ruled the 2nd house. And whatever planets ruled the 2nd and the 7th are called the Marka planets, killer. So Venus happened to take double emphasis for marriage partner, plus it ruled both Marka houses 2 and 7. So this was the fated day that he died, and he died with his lover. He died with the woman that he was about to marry. Incredible scenario going on with looking at these charts this day and what's about to come out this very day. So thinking about Diana's chart, once again, the fact that Neptune was conjunct Saturn. Neptune's called the Great Dissolver, and Saturn is reality. So things are dissolved and the truth comes out to be seen, reality. Uranus, which was on her Jupiter, represents awakenings. It's called the Great Awakener. So what this is really telling us that the world will be awakened to this truth of what has been denied for so many years. And Princess Diana was brought to this world to help reveal the hidden, dirty secrets of this world. And it will never be the same. She gave up her life. She came here with a mission and a cause, unbeknownst to herself. Remember, she was buried holding the rosary that was given to her. Her butler put it in between her hands, rosary from Mother Teresa. I think that's pretty symbolic, that she was a healer of humanity as well. And this is all about to be revealed. And this was her mission, unbeknownst to herself. So I will leave you with these interesting facts in the charts and what is about to be unveiled out of the darkness. Be aware, and be aware to look at your own life and what could be revealed out of the darkness to help you heal issues and situations in yourself. Thank you.